Hello, today we're going to talk about cells. If you remember from the microscope notes, we learned that the microscope was invented and started to develop around the 1600s. And Robert Hooke was the man who came up with the word cells. In 1665, he looked at the cork cells. He was looking at why a cork was such a good bottle stopper. So he took the cork and he put it under the microscope and he saw tiny compartments resembling a honeycomb. And he called them cells because they resembled the cells that housed the monks living in the monastery. Okay? Now, cells come in all different shapes and sizes. Their shape depends on their function. So if you take a look at all of these different cells, we can have some unicellular organisms. Those are both protists, and we'll talk about that when we talk about protists. We have cells that make up our body. So we have the nerve cells, the muscle cells, the red blood cells. Now, the nerve cells, you can tell that they send and receive information, where the muscle cell is going to contract and relax to move our body. And then the red blood cell kind of looks like a raft. It carries oxygen through our vessels. This is a leaf pore guard cell. This is very important when we talk about photosynthesis. This is on the outside layer of the plant cell, and the guard cells will open and close in order to let in the carbon dioxide and let oxygen out. This is just showing you a picture of what cells are in pond water, and I'm sure we'll have plenty of chances to look at that in the lab underneath the microscope. So when we talked about the characteristics of life, we brought up the cell theory. So this is just a reminder. The cell is the basic living unit of all organisms. All organisms are composed of cells and cell parts, and all cells come from other cells. Okay, just to give you a little background on this, the first two parts were developed by Theodor Schwann in 1839, and then 10 years later, the last part was developed by Rudolf Virchow, a German physician, and he was the one who came up with the last component of the cell theory. All right, so some things we need to know about cells. They are microscopic, okay? They are small because they need to carry out all of the cell's functions. If they were too big, they would not have enough energy to supply it or the directions needed. So they have to be small in order to get the nutrients and oxygens to all of the cell parts. And this again is just a little idea of how big things are. And again, this is showing you why cells are so small. If you take a look at this large cell, again, the surface area of this cube is this. When you have a bunch of little components or cells, you have increased your surface area quite a bit. So it's more beneficial to have cells being smaller. Okay, there are two main types of cells. There are the prokaryotic cell and the eukaryotic cell. One kingdom is going to be a prokaryote, where all the other kingdoms are eukaryotes, and we are a eukaryote cell. So I'm going to give you some information on the prokaryote, and then we'll focus the rest of our unit on cells on the eukaryotic cell. This is just showing you a prokaryotic cell. This is a pinpoint that's been magnified quite a bit of time, and you can see how many bacteria or prokaryotic cells can fit on there. Pretty much, if you think of a thumbtack, 35,000 different cells can fit on that head of the thumbtack. So that is very small in size. And this is just showing you what the structure looks like. We will learn all of these different points as we go along. This is showing you that there are three main shapes of prokaryotic cells or bacterial cells. You have circular, you have rod, and you have spiral. And we will talk more about this when we talk about the kingdom Monera, or the bacteria kingdom. Okay, so prokaryotic cells are bacteria. That is the only kingdom that is a prokaryotic cell. Okay, they are the simplest of all living things, and they're found everywhere. They're found in your mouth. they're found in your gut, they're found in the air, they're found in water. You name it, the bacteria cells are found. Now, most of them are beneficial, but there are some bacterial cells that are very harmful. And again, we'll talk more about this as we go through the kingdoms. Their size is very small. They're about 1 to 10 micrometers in diameter, and they are all unicellular. They do have a cell wall in addition to the cell membrane. They also have a structure called the capsule, and that is an additional structure that surrounds the cell that will offer protection. They also have a mesome or mesosome. I've seen it spelled and pronounced two different ways. This is an infolding of the plasma membrane, and that's going to allow things to get into the cell. There's only one chromosome, and they do not have what we call a nucleus. It's found in a region, a nucleoid region, but it's very different than a eukaryotic cell who does have a nucleus. And it has plasmids. Now, plasmids are circular pieces of DNA, and what's so cool about them is that you can actually take out plasmids and put them into different organisms, and that's a lot of our different genetic research that we are doing. The only organelle that the bacteria cells or prokaryotic cells have are ribosomes, and we'll learn about all the organelles and cell parts in another notes. They also have pili. These are very short projections that allow the bacteria to kind of attach to surfaces and kind of inch along surfaces. They also could have flagella or many flagella, and we'll see that on the picture when we talk about that. So here is the structure of the bacteria. We have one chromosome that's coiled upon in the nucleoid region. We have the mesome or mesosome, that is the infolding of the cell membrane that is going to allow for things to enter into the cell. We have a cell wall, cell membrane, and this is the cell wall. The circular pieces of DNA are called plasmids. They could have a flagella. They also could have what are called pili, which are kind of intermediate in length, that can surround them. And maybe they have some ribosomes. Okay, that is it for the structure. Now, just to show you the size difference, this is a prokaryotic cell, and this is an amoeba, which is still very small. This is, again, these are both microscopic. This is the eukaryotic cell. You can see that there's a lot more going on inside of the eukaryotic cell, and this is where we're going to focus most of our attention when we go through this unit. Again, just showing you the size difference. Okay, so eukaryotic cells are larger. They're about 10 to 50 micrometers. Again, still microscopic. They can be multicellular for different organisms. They are divided into organelles or cell parts, and we will learn about that in the next set of notes. Eukaryotic cells are found in plants, animals, protists, and fungus. So the rest of the 5 kingdoms are eukaryotic cells. So the only prokaryotic kingdom is Kingdom Moneran. And this is, again, just showing you the structure, and we will talk more about this as we go through the cell parts. If you have any questions, please see me tomorrow. Thanks.